in yoga, the word ashram in Sanskrit actually means forest school. And these, back in the day, 5,000 years ago, this teaching method was out in the woods, and the students were sitting on the ground, and the teacher was there, and they were in this discussion, this conversational approach. Well, fast forward to now, trying to use this format with the video and the way we're setting this up, and with the idea of hopefully getting engagement with folks on the other end of the camera, is trying to replicate in the 21st century approach to that Upanishadic teaching. Yoga has gotten kind of locked in time. We see when people are practicing yoga or even talking about the applied philosophical applications of yoga, the moral direction, these types of things, it does get locked in time in this. What do the ancient scriptures say? What's the proper attire? And we have to have a certain room, and we have to have certain props, and we see a lot. Nothing wrong with all that, by the way. There's nothing wrong with people who, want to have the accoutrement of that might help them focus. It might help them be in the practice, which is great. But it's not a requirement, and it's not the practice. The yoga postures are not the practice. It's what the postures are doing for you. How are you leveraging that posture? Are you using those postures to create balance, to move you in a direction? And if we're not speaking the language of the culture we're in, the time we're in, then it just becomes, you can be slaves to ritual, slaves to empty movement. There was a yogi who was in front of his students teaching every week, and the cat, the pet cat of the ashram, would get, during meditation, the cat would start roaming around and bother people and be an irritation. So the yogi had the cat tied up and set in the other room while the students were in meditation. Well, years passed, and this was every time the class started, they'd tie up the cat and put him away. The yogi died, and then his students followed the procedure of tying the cat up. And times went on, they became part of the liturgy, is that in order to meditate, you had to have a cat and tie the cat up as part of the practice. And they lost the whole sense of why was that even done to the beginning? Well, some of this stuff happens in these yoga postures, in these yoga, whether it's a meditation posture or a physical posture. Why were we doing it to start with? There's sometimes a slave to lineage. Now, that's a very Eastern approach. I studied martial arts for a long time, and there was a lot of trying to break out of that slavery to a lineage of martial arts. Why do we do this? Why do we do that? Bruce Lee was very good about trying to break that through that ceiling of let's get out of the lineage. Let's make this real. Let's make this not just empty shadow dancing. Let's make this martial art real. Well, we're trying to bring it to the 20th century at that time. We're trying to bring these practices to the 21st century and talk about topics that are important to people now.